Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast. Okay, today we've heard from a few people that wanted to talk about crowdsourcing. A lot of people wanted to know what it was. So we're going to bring you an episode today about crowdsourcing a successful Amazon launch. And we're going to be talking about how the crowdfunding launch model is changing the way people think about product launches, power of building community for the success of your launches, and where do you even start, and how you even eliminate inventory risk with pre-orders using this method. So welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and e-commerce podcast.
Lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm.
All right, like I said, today we're going to be talking about crowdsourcing a successful Amazon lunch. Our guest is originally a Canadian, actually grew up not far from where I am right now, and he is a full-time nomad traveling around and living in other countries around the world. Since starting Amazon FBA in 2015, he's mastered crowdfunding and the pre-order strategy to launch products and grow brands. He's raised over $7 million in successful launches and broke records with two of his launches, number one, most funded in their niche, and ranking in the top 1% of crowdfunding of all time. My guest, first-time guest, is Vance Lee. But before we get to Vance, let's have a word from our sponsor. If you're selling on Amazon in 2022, you know how important it is to stand out from your competition. Let Hono Worldwide lend a helping hand with your product innovation to outcompete your competition online. That's right. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the success of your newly innovative product while Hono handles all the work. Visit honoworldwide.com for more information. That's Honu, Honu, worldwide.com, or email savings@honoworldwide.com. All right, where is the boy?
Hello. Happy Monday.
Happy. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. Back to work.
Good.
Were you a good boy on the weekend?
I went for a lovely hike in Niagara and got to, get outside. Was feeling great, feeling healthy. And I just want to give a shout out to our beardos out there. Hope you guys are having a great Monday morning. Welcome, Claudia, Saad, and DK Kim. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments today. This is a live podcast, so if you have questions, comments, opinions, let us know in the comment sections, and we'll be featuring them on the show. So love to hear where you're watching from today. And of course, as always, we start off the show by smashing those like buttons, giving us a thumbs up. You can share this episode out, but definitely want to make sure that you're following the pages. So if you're watching from Facebook, like us on Facebook. If you're watching from YouTube, subscribe and hit that bell down below, and we can get started. So
you know what I did this weekend?
What did you do?
I recorded a whole bunch of new content just for you.
Oh, nice. 2 months late, but appreciated. Much appreciated.
It gets done.
It gets done eventually.
Yes, exactly.
That's our motto.
But all right. So one of the things, sorry, Kels, but one of the things I want to just bring up again, we started a new model here with Wheel of Kelsey. Everybody was entering Wheel of Kelsey, hashtag Wheel of Kelsey up front without knowing what the prize is. So what we're doing is that we're going to be talking about hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, the giveaway, a little bit later on in the podcast. And then we're going to give out a mystery word. And if you like what that is, then enter hashtag Wheel of Kelsey and tag two people, and you'll get a second entry. So I just want everybody to know that there is a little bit different format. We'll be talking about this each podcast for the next week or two.
Okay.
Now back to you.
And last thing I want to mention, if you want to be part of the Beardos, part of the Beard Nation, join our Facebook group. You can see it down below. It's the Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective. That's the group name. So look for us there. And yeah, be part of the community. You can share your thoughts about the episodes. You can give topic suggestions. You can just have fun and meet the people in the comment sections that you see here. We have DK from Los Angeles, Claudia from Calgary. We've got an international group, and it's always great to see and meet different people watching the show. So I think that's it.
All right. So like Kelsey was saying, if you do have questions, comments, throw them over into the comment section. We will get to them. Today's episode is going to be very interesting. This is one that I want to hear more about, and that is crowdfunding. So anyway, get your questions in there. There's no silly questions, just anything or comments. And one thing I want to talk about too, for any of the listeners, have you ever done crowdsourcing, crowdfunding? Let us know how that went. Okay, so sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy our episode. Welcome, Vance.
Hello, hello. How's
it going?
It's going amazing. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, fellow Canadian.
First of all, I will say that the intro music is amazing. Love the vibe for the intro music.
Oh, all right, thanks. My son wrote that. So this is a great topic. There's so many people wondering how to launch a product, how to do it with a different type of strategy, how to do it affordably. And I think this is a topic that, this is what we're talking about today, crowdfunding. So I think the very first thing that we should be talking about is, how does the crowdfunding launch model change the way that we think about product launches?
This is a really good question, because a lot of people, in my experience, have heard about crowdfunding. They've heard about it maybe because they've maybe supported a Kickstarter project in the past. So Kickstarter is one of the main platforms that crowdfunding is done on. So Kickstarter is one. The other one is called Indiegogo. So you might have heard of those. A lot of people that I've talked to, they've heard of these platforms, but they don't really know how they work. They kind of just assume that maybe it's another kind of like Amazon equivalent. It's another platform where you can sell stuff on, and that's not the case. So understanding how this model works actually makes a big difference, because then you can see yourself using this as a part of your next product launch strategy. So first of all, Kickstarter does not replace any other platform. So it's not another maybe Walmart.com, or it's not another platform that you're going to be selling on a regular basis. So it doesn't replace Amazon at all. It doesn't replace Shopify. It's another platform that is essentially going to be in addition to your launch strategy, and it's going to be the first part of just launching your product before you start scaling to those other platforms that you might want to be selling on. So I want to get that out of the way first, because sometimes people get confused as to where it fits into your model, as you're going to have to learn something completely new that's going to be not helpful for the rest of your rest of your product launch. So that's the first thing. So excuse me. The main thing about crowdfunding and how it works is that it in a way it flips the e-commerce model upside down. So the traditional launch model, regardless if you launch on Amazon or on any other platform or on Shopify, is that you have to go, and this is not new to any of us. We sell an FBA. I'm an FBA seller as well. So you order the inventory, and you have the inventory. You pay for the inventory. You have it shipped to the Amazon warehouses, and then you start selling it. You go through whatever launch strategy you want to start getting ranking and start accumulating your clout, and then hopefully at the end of this you start ranking enough, and then from there you can start getting organic sales, and you can start building up your sales that way. So that's the traditional launch model. With crowdfunding, what's really interesting about this is that it flips the model upside down, in the sense that you don't need inventory to sell. So this is one of the most appealing parts of selling on crowdfunding, is that you do not need to have inventory at all. So all you need to be able to launch on crowdfunding is a campaign page, which is to the listing Amazon, and you need a prototype. So as long as you have those two things, you're able to launch on Kickstarter or on crowdfunding. And what this allows for is that it allows for you to essentially launch this product and get pre-orders in advance of the cash before you actually have to place the order for inventory. And so this is very, very different, because it's almost in reverse. You launch the product, you get money, and then once you get all the orders and all the pre-orders, then you place the order with your supplier, your manufacturer, and then you get the order to fulfill. So it's almost like you're you're turning this model upside down. And the main thing to note about this is that it's not any, essentially it's one of these like win-win strategies. So you mitigate risk because you're not putting out your money for the inventory in advance. But the other benefit is that when you do this, you're actually able to build a whole bunch of things. Maybe we can talk about this later. But you're building the foundations for your brand and the product to be successful in advance. So you don't have the risk. You get the cash up front, which helps with your cash flow. And we all know how important cash flow is to be able to scale into e-commerce. But this is what allows us to be able to essentially flip the ball upside down with no additional risk, because all the stuff that you're doing to prepare the campaign page on Kickstarter is the same stuff that you need to prepare if you're launching on Amazon, on Shopify, and that's your photo, video, so your media asset, whatever it takes for you to launch on Amazon, you would prepare these in advance anyways to launch on crowdfunding, and this gives you kind of a bit of a leg up. So upside is no risk, minimizing risk, but there's not really much of a downside because you're really doing the things that you would do anyways if you were to launch on Amazon or on Shopify or whatever platform of choice.
Okay, and this makes complete sense. However, and I just want to back up one step. I'm assuming when we came on to talk about crowdfunding that people knew exactly what it is. And I'm probably made the wrong assumption. Can we just step back and let's talk about what exactly crowdfunding what it is, and well, let's start there. What the heck is it?
Sure. Yeah, this is a really great question, actually. So that's the perfect place to start. So crowdfunding is putting out an idea, and this is done in many different industries and in different ways. So the original concept of crowdfunding, at least when it came to e-commerce, was you have an idea for a product, you don't have the funds for it, so you want to launch this, but you don't have enough money. So you put this idea out there. You say, hey, this is my idea. This is what I want to accomplish with it. This is what it's going to do. And if you support me, then when this product comes to life, I'm going to give you whatever it is, XYZ. It could be the product itself. It could be another reward. But this is what kind of kicked off how Kickstarter was developed as a platform. So as a way to launch products that people weren't able to get funding for, and they wanted to get support so that they can bring this product to life. Over time, that's evolved a lot. Now people use Kickstarter for products that are almost ready, that they do have funds for. Lots of big brands use crowdfunding to be able to launch products and build communities. But the idea here was, I have this product idea. I want to launch it. I don't have the funds. Can you support me to allow me to bring this to life?
Sorry, Vance, your internet is kind of coming in and out. I can hear you 90% of the time, but you've been hanging a couple of times here. So if I interrupt you, the reason I'm interrupting you is because you're just hanging once in a while, but you're pretty good. You're like 95% good. All right. Well, one of the other things when you're looking at a crowdfunding campaign, I mean, it is simple. It's I think cash effective. But one of the things that we should touch on too is that you have to set a proper amount that you need. And if you can't achieve that amount, you don't get funded at all. Is it correct?
That's right. Yeah. So you have to set a funding goal. And when you set the funding goal, well, it depends actually on the platforms. On Kickstarter, they have this. It's called all or nothing funding. So if you don't hit your funding goal, then you don't get the any amount of raise. So let's say you set $20,000. If you only hit $15,000, you don't get $15,000. It just doesn't go through. So this is all or nothing funding, and they do this to protect They do this because they've assumed that you budgeted to your launch, and if you don't have enough, you can't actually follow through. So they do this to protect the people that are backing the projects. On Indiegogo, a little bit of a different story. Indiegogo is the second platform for crowdfunding. They'll allow you to, if you wanted to raise 20,000 and you hit 15,000, they'll still give you the 15,000, so you can try to follow through with it.
All right, and there's so many things I want to talk about. One of the things is we talk about brand community, building your community on Amazon, building brand ambassadors, or creating a group of influencers and then converting them into brand ambassadors. One of the easiest ways, and I just want to be straight here. I have not used crowdfunding, but I am definitely very interested in. One of the reasons is because you have an instant audience, you have an instant community, you have a group of people that really want you to succeed. And that's priceless. I don't know if you want to, talk any further about that, but that's so important.
Yeah, I think any brand, any real brand nowadays, the only reason why they're successful long term, at least in terms of sustainability or being able to launch new products, is that they have people that care about what they do. And this was one of the biggest things that brought me to crowdfunding initially. I started in the kitchen niche. I launched products that were successful, and I decided, okay, I'm going to launch product 2 and launch product 3. And launching the second product and the third product was no easier than launching the first product, because nobody knew they were my products. Nobody cared. They were just searching on Amazon because they just wanted that product. So this is not necessarily a terrible thing, but it's a huge disadvantage for people that have actual communities and actual audiences, like you said, that care about what they're doing, that are rooting for you. And launching a Kickstarter campaign or a crowdfunding campaign is one of the best ways to do this, because you're essentially inviting these people to support you. They want to see you succeed, like you said, and they're there to, if they back the project, they're like, yes, I want these people to succeed. I want to share this project because I like what they're doing. And you're automatically building an audience of people that really care about what you're doing. So if you're interested in building a long-term successful e-commerce brand that's going to be on multiple channels, that has the opportunity to diversify off Amazon, that's not 100% at risk. If Amazon says, hey, one day, I don't like what you're doing, then you don't have a business anymore, right? But if you're able to build audience and a community that's going to support you, then you can bring these people to Shopify. You can launch on whatever other platforms that are out there, and they can support you there. But that's one of the most important parts of being able to build a brand nowadays, is to build that audience and that community, because that's really the value of a brand, is that people care about what you're doing. And it's really hard to do this on Amazon, and that's really what led me to crowdfunding, to be able to explore how else we can start building communities to be able to support the growth of the brand.
How do you know if your product is even worth putting on crowdfunding?
That's a really good question. So we generally start with research, the same way that you'd be researching products on Amazon. But the difference is that on crowdfunding, you don't necessarily, just because your product isn't there doesn't mean that people don't want it. It just means that it hasn't been made yet. So in general, you can do some research to find out if a product category is going to be interesting to people. But the idea is that we really want to build a product around a community. So a lot of products, there's going to be demand. They're kind of products that are just going to be very, very wide in terms of having an audience interested. So at that point, it's just a matter of, okay, what am I going to do to get this product to be more interesting or stand out or present it or position it better? If you have something that's completely brand new or completely just innovative or never before seen, which by the way is not necessary for crowdfunding. We see a lot of really, really kind of normal products, or products that you see before presented on crowdfunding. But if you have something that's completely new, this is a good opportunity to start building an audience and building a community around that brand that you are going to build with this product. So what we generally recommend is that you actually use this as an opportunity to connect with your target audience and get feedback about this product before you launch it, because it could be an awesome idea, or it could just be, this is not the best idea. So we've had a lot of people that we've worked with that are in one of our programs that actually came to this with an idea that they wanted to launch, and they built up a massive influencer network. They built up a massive community, and what they found was they got feedback from the community and saying that this is not actually that cool of a product. And what they ended up doing was they ended up it sucks, but they ended up dropping this product. But they got feedback from the community to say, hey, we want this instead. Why don't you build this for us? And that means that when they're finally ready to launch this product, people want it. It's not some idea that they had in the back of their mind that they wanted to launch. It's actually some feedback that they got from real customers. And this is different than just going up on PickFu and just having a few options for this color versus this color. But the idea here is, why not build your product, or why not get your community involved in building the product that you're eventually going to be selling to them? So that's I think that's a great question that you asked, and I think that's one of the ways that you can do it.
Perfect. So getting that that validation from the community, it's so important. All right. So next thing is, I've got a product, my community loves it, or I'm bringing it to market. How difficult is it, and what kind of dollars does it take? Because we know, I know for Amazon, it's how long is a piece of string. But in general, I know exactly what I need to do to get something launched. With crowdfunding, it's a completely different ballgame.
Sure.
What do you need to do to get get something of interest going, and what does it cost?
Perfect. That's a great question. So this is one of the most common questions, and I really like to think of this as like, what are the components that's necessary for launch, right? So when we launch on Amazon, we do our product development. So we have to get samples, we have to get prototypes done, all that kind of stuff to make sure that we can actually produce this. In crowdfunding, exact same thing. So what we're looking to do is we have to make this product and make sure that it works and that it's going to be a real thing that can be produced. That's going to be the same. On Amazon nowadays, there's a lot of strategies when it comes to launching that's related to building up an audience for your launch and building up people that are ready to purchase your product once it goes live. This is also no different in crowdfunding. It's just going to be done in a little bit of a different way. So actually, there's a lot of ways that you can do it that's paid. So things like running ads, selling pages, that type of thing. But what we recommend, at least with our approach, is to take advantage of a lot of the free methods. And the free methods, when it comes to building community, is it's actually more powerful. Sometimes it can be a little bit more actual work when it comes to time involvement. When doing this, you actually build stronger relationships with people and just connecting with them. So there can be paid options, but they're in general, we generally recommend the free options first and then move into the paid options as a way to amplify. So if you look at the paid options, if you look at the free options, then a lot of this might just be time for you or time for somebody on your team to be able to do that. So it's actually, it's not as expensive as a lot of people would think to start building an audience, building a community. And so the next part of it is going to be, so we have building an audience, building a community. The next part of it will be something that us Amazon sellers are very familiar with, which is to be able to create the assets. So depending on what you're doing for the quality of your assets on Amazon, we're going to be doing the same thing with Kickstarter, only here I recommend we invest in high quality assets. So we might do the white on, the studio on white type of photos, but we're going to be investing in at least some type of video. So here's where some people would argue with me. They say, hey, if I'm launching on Amazon, I don't need video. I don't think it's the case nowadays. I think it's extremely important, even if you're launching on Amazon alone, to be able to start building high quality assets and video and things like that that represent your brand. Only when we launch a Kickstarter, this is going to be a little bit more, we're going to want to invest more in higher quality. That's what we highly recommend. So that cost is going to be dependent on a lot of factors. It's going to be dependent on the complexity of your product. It's going to be dependent on where you're getting people to make your product or make these product videos. So if it's in, if you have freelancers or people you work with in a different country that's not, like an expensive Western country, you can get cheaper. So I want to give you the variables so that you can have an idea of how to think about this. In terms of what it looks like in terms of costs. So that part is it's going to be very similar, but we'll need this regardless. So we'll need to be able to create the campaign page, which is equivalent to the product listing page, where you show the product, show what it does, tell your story about what what you're bringing to life here. So after that, you're going to need advertising. So this one is going to be split into two options. Like you either do this pre-launch in terms of building leads, or during the campaign goes live and you're running ads to the campaign. So this can be flexible. If it's working, you can invest more into it. So if every dollar that you're spending when the campaign is live, you're getting $5 back, then at this point you want to just get as much cash as you can just to be able to run these ads and be successful with it. And the good thing about this is that you get feedback in real time. So it's not like you have to commit to a $50,000 budget, and if it's not working, you have to spend the $50,000. You get budget. Your budget is you can be smart with your budget. So if it's working and if it's doing well and the ads are converting, then you want to keep running that. But if it's not converting well, you can stop. But in general, we recommend at least experimenting with ads during the live campaign, at least a couple $1,000s, just to see if you can make it work in terms of driving traffic to the ads. And there's specific ways to target the audiences on Facebook and Instagram that it might be too deep to go into at this point. But the point is to understand when it comes to launching, we're going to be spending money on ads as well. And but that's flexible just based on your budget, but also based on seeing results and performance. So those are the main considerations when it comes to investing in launching a campaign. So in terms of being more specific, there's so many variables, so I can just try to give you like a high ballpark number. But in general,
Sure.
It's so dependent on your category, so I don't want to put this out there.
I know.
But I would say like at least you're spending $5,000 to $10,000 for these some of these components, and these are not new components that are different
And
from
that's
like Amazon
probably on the
components.
low end, right?
That would be on the lower end. But you know, when it comes to launching and let's say you want to invest in really, really high quality video. And the reason why we say investing in these assets is that once you launch, these assets are going to be your assets. So when you start scaling to Amazon, you start scaling to Shopify, or like people, you know, you start getting PR and people get really excited about your product, you're going to be using these assets to run ads or to give to somebody in a press package or something like this. All these things are investments. And if you look at it that way, then it doesn't become like, oh, how much does it cost to create these assets? But it's like, well, what am I willing to invest in my brand to make it look like it's going to be something that represents what we're about, and also that gets customers excited to purchase. So on the low end, 5,000-10,000, like in that range at least. But it just depends on what you're able to get access to in terms of freelancers or agencies or whatever it is that you're going to be doing to create these assets.
So if you're an Amazon seller that maybe new, maybe they've taken some YouTube video or watched some YouTube videos, maybe taken a course. Courses don't usually, I haven't seen any courses that touch on this type of product launch. And we probably knocked a few people off their chairs by saying the low end is 5,000 to 10,000. But you have to remember, when you're doing this type of strategy, you're establishing how much you need to go forward and to get the ball rolling. And you're building up a list of people, a group, a community that's going to help fund that $5,000 or $10,000 or $25,000. So you have to keep that in the back of your mind. But this is where we talked about this a little earlier. Validation is important. You know, you want to validate, you want to make sure that your product is actually something you can bring to market and it just doesn't suck. Like if I'm going to bring together a plastic shoe stretcher that already exists, nobody's going to buy that. And another thing that I've seen, there are a lot of crowdfunding items out there that have some ethical or some sustainability, some type of component there, which either give back to charities or donations. How important is that when you're doing this type of strategy?
Sure. So before I answer this question, I wanted to just address what you said, and I think this is a really, 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 really good point. Is that when it comes to launching a brand and building an audience and building your assets, this is an investment in your brand. But with this approach, you don't actually. The advantage is you don't have to order the inventory and take that risk first, because you're ordering. You know, at some points, like usually MOQs are, it depends on your product category, but sometimes 1,000 or 2,000 or 3,000, you might be ordering that times $10 a unit or $15 a unit. That's a massive, massive investment in capital for something that you're not sure if it's going to work yet. So in order to, I mean, like I said before, you're going to be building the same things, like building the assets, creating the photos and videos, because you need that for your Amazon launch anyways. But with this, you don't have to ordering the inventory in advance and to have that inventory to see if this is going to work. The crowdfunding allows you to go through and launch it and try to get pre-orders before you have to invest that $30,000 or $50,000 in inventory. So this launch cost might seem like it's like, oh well, you know, 5,000 to 10,000 or even more, but that's, you know, the opposite is you might be spending $20,000 or $50,000 in inventory and not sure if that's going to be something that's successful. So I just wanted to add that in, because I think you made a really good point about investing in the brand and making sure that you know that you validate, essentially.
Right. Okay. So before we go any further, again, I'd like to really hear from the listeners about if they've ever used crowdfunding and how did that go for you. And then secondly, we do have a great giveaway today. The giveaway is going to be #Wheel of Kelsey. And I think the mystery keyword. All right. So anybody who just tuned in, we do have a mystery keyword. It is going to be crowdfunding. And if you want to enter twice, just tag 2 people and you'll have that second entry. Vance, why don't you tell everybody about the giveaway today?
Sure. So, I mean, excuse me. I'm okay. I will laugh. So the giveaway today is going to be a strategy session. If you're considering the pre-order launch model, you think it's appealing that that you can explore the idea of using pre-orders to launch your next product, or if you're if you're ready to explore this, we'll have a strategy session to find out if your product category or what you're thinking can work for the Kickstarter launch model. So it's going to be a strategy session with myself, and so we get to jam for we get jam to talk about your product and see if and how we can make that work.
It's so important. If you take a look at different strategies, it's always looking outside the box. If everybody is just following a single model for launch, okay, then you're following everybody else. And what you're offering here, I think is very unique. I know my partner in Honu, he designs product innovative products. And a lot of them are crowdfunded. And a lot of them have huge success right out of the gate because of this. And this is definitely it's priceless. If you want to get a very unique opportunity, I know we have a lot of different types of giveaways on this podcast, but a unique opportunity to hear about a completely different strategy that most of you haven't considered, this is priceless. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey and then crowdfunding. And then once you say that, tag 2 people and you get a second entry. Now, the next thing important is, Kelsey, put your hand on that button and let's have a word from our sponsor. A big thank you to our sponsor, Startup Club, the largest club on Clubhouse with over 790,000 members and growing. They're one of the world's largest communities supporting the startup ecosystem, from founders to those wishing to work for a startup and everything in between. You can find them at www.startup.club for blogs, recordings, and a calendar of upcoming shows, and on the Clubhouse app. Just search Startup Club for daily shows 24/7. You can also now listen to their show, the Serial Entrepreneur Club podcast, on Apple and Spotify too. Stop by to connect, learn, and grow together. Okay, so remember, give us your questions. We got a couple there, and I just read through the questions, and just stay tuned. There's some really interesting questions here that have some interesting answers. So we're going to solve some of your sourcing issues. Anyways, they're kind of cool. I don't know if you saw them go by, but these are panic questions. Like, I get these all the time and I love them. But and I don't want to say the person who sent it over is panicking, but it's about brand, it's about sharing, it's about worrying about your brand. And so I can't wait to touch on that. Cool. Anyways, let's do that a little bit later. We'll keep people hanging. Let's go back to that power of community. So what is the power of building that community for a successful brand? Like, how do you even start that?
Well, the power of having a community is, when you think about it, it's actually really obvious. Like, it's something that's we don't really think about too much as Amazon sellers, because the default is that the Amazon marketplace is meant to be transactional. So it's meant to be Amazon's customers are coming in, so they search something, they buy something, and then they get the product from us. Sometimes we can put insert cards, sometimes we can try to get them on an email list, and whatever creative ways that we can think about. But it was not meant for us to build our businesses on there in that type of way. It was meant for Amazon to provide a really good system for customers to purchase their product. So anything that we've kind of built on top of this as a layer to try to build this, build an audience, build an email list, is something that we've done creatively. So with that said, a lot of people find it super challenging. I know people that are 8-figure sellers that don't really have anything in terms of a community or like a big list off of Amazon. There's just literally that's their business, right? So we're finding more and more, especially with all these crazy stories we're hearing with Amazon just shutting down accounts, or just like something the next day you just essentially just go from $1 million a month to nothing. Is this from a matter of like just sending an email or something like that? That's crazy, right? So we're starting to see more and more people just understand the value of building diversification or building a brand that's going to be sustainable off Amazon. So community at a high I guess at a high level, you can think of it, is going to allow you to do this. And the reason for this, and when I say it, this is going to be so obvious, but when you have people that you can contact and communicate with, then you have a real customer that is your customer. So when you do this, there's so many benefits. One is that you can launch new products very, very easily. So if you literally had an audience of people that cared about your dog products, or your, in my case, my coffee products, when it comes time to launch a product, and you say, hey, I've developed this new thing or this new accessory, I want to launch it. I want to launch it on Amazon. I want to launch it on Kickstarter. What, doesn't matter. But you tell them, hey, I'm ready to launch. Can you support? Maybe I can even give you a discount. And they're ready. This is like the equivalent of all the work we have to go through every time when we're using these weird things like rebate key and like all those types of interesting things to get this effect of having people that are interested in what we do when we launch. So a community allows us to kind of bypass this. And a really good example of this is one of my recent products launches. My most recent product was a taste enhancing coffee glass. It sounds kind of woo woo, but it actually works. So if you're into coffee, I can plug that here. But the idea is that it's modeled off the wine and whiskey glasses, like the shapes that allow you to smell wine and taste wine better, the whiskey snifters, that type of thing. So that was a product that didn't have a market. So I can't launch that on Amazon. People are not searching for this category of product. But I had previously built up a community from my previous Kickstarter launches. So my first Kickstarter launch did really well. It was about almost $1 million campaign in terms of pre-orders. And I had built a massive community that I continued to build up for my Shopify store, and people getting into my email list, and people on social media. And when I launched the second product, essentially, well, first of all, the product idea for this came from our community. So we said, hey, what types of products would you like to, what types of products would you like to see from us? And this is one of the concepts that came from the community. Say, hey, we want to see really cool glasses and that type of thing. That's what actually led us to build this product. So first of all, we knew that people wanted this. And the second benefit was when we finally launched, we launched again on Kickstarter, we had a massive community that was ready to support us. So within the first 48 hours, we hit our funding goal of 20,000, and we exceeded it. So I think we hit about 30,000 in the first of sales in the first 24 to 48 hours, that range. So imagine being able to say, hey, I want to launch a product, and you have an audience of people that are excited to support you once it finally comes down to launch. And within that campaign, we ended up having about 5% of our customers purchase this new product. And what ended up happening was 5% of customers doesn't seem like a massive number, because we had a lot of customers, but 5% of our customers returning to buy this new product was about $50,000 of sales. So wow. After the entire campaign of launch, these people supported us to be able to bring this product to life. And we not only did we have, this is a significant amount of money, right? So they ended up giving us support for about $50,000 worth. We ended up raising about 260 or 220 for the Kickstarter launch, and of that amount was $50,000 was from our initial customer base. So this is all to say, having an audience and having a community allows you to launch products more easily. You can get suggestions from them about products you should launch. You can get them to refer. So a lot of the traffic from the Kickstarter campaign was organic referrals. So it's just people saying, hey, like, I supported this brand before and they launched a new product. You should check this out. I know you like coffee too. And being able to have that type of relationship with customers is a whole different thing than having to really struggle every time you launch a new product and have to go about all these slightly weird roundabout ways to create the same effect of when somebody actually cares about your brand.
You threw me a curveball, because I was going to ask you one question. Now I'm going to ask you a different question. So
okay.
You're what did you call it? A woo-woo coffee?
You're going to ask me about the coffee glass.
Yeah. So anyways, that leads me to a really great question. So a lot of the products that I see are usually on Kickstarter are different. They're innovative products. Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds great. You get your funding, off you go. However, how do you market an innovative product on Amazon when nobody is searching for your keyword?
On Amazon? Well, you can't. I mean, it's very difficult. It's almost impossible on Amazon. You're just taking a massive risk and hoping that you can compete with existing keywords for categories that are existing. And so, for example, if I was competing with coffee cups or coffee glasses, I'd be competing against like hundreds of coffee glasses, ceramic glasses, travel mugs, and that type of thing. I just wouldn't be able to do all of this. But when you launch it in this way and you are able to build build an audience around this and build excitement around this, it created a lot of business opportunities for us. And we ended up actually, a majority of our sales for this product now come from wholesale. So people actually, this is not something I ever thought I would get into coming into e-commerce. Coming into e-commerce, usually it's like, I just don't want to, I don't want to be interacting with lots of like things in the real world. So let's just do this business online. So I never thought I'd be getting into wholesale, but a lot of people actually found our brand through Kickstarter and they wanted to carry our product. And so right now we're in 17 different countries around the world where there's a distributor that buys a product from us and is distributing to coffee shops and gift shops and that type of thing with our products. So that came as an opportunity to diversify, but it was something that just never I thought would be possible. So I guess to answer your original question, how do you compete on Amazon with a brand new product? It's really difficult, and I think it's not only difficult, it's risky. So doing something like this with a Kickstarter launch gives you an opportunity to validate your product idea, build an audience, and maybe even improve the product concept that you're originally going to launch. And then later on, you can launch this on Amazon. So we sell on Amazon. It's not our main channel for success, but we get a handful of sales every month. But that's mostly from people finding out about our product, and then they trust Amazon. They're going to buy it on Amazon. I think that's that's a very, very slightly different model, at least with this particular product, because it's not a very wide product that a lot of people are reaching for.
So I guess one of the things you can do, I'm just trying to see how you can get sales velocity on your Amazon listing. And because you have that community, you could probably, after the initial launch, you could probably go back to community, or if you have new colors or variations, you could give that community a discount code of something to drive people over to your Amazon listing to get the sales velocity and start to move the product, at least. Again, leveraging your community.
Exactly. You're way ahead of the game, by the way. So this is one of the strategies that we use. And this is like what do we do after the launch? So again, we talked about this all the way at the beginning. The Kickstarter launch is not the main event. Really what we're trying to do with the Kickstarter launch is we're trying to build credibility with our product. We're trying to get the pre-orders. We're trying to build our community. The main event is taking this and building momentum into where you actually want to scale. So exactly what you said, there's lots of strategies that we can do to implement that allows us to be able to start building an audience and building momentum on Amazon. And that's one of the ways you can do it. I mean, a lot of people are giving away free units anyways. Why not give a 50% discount code to an existing customer and say, hey, do you have any other coffee loving friends or dog owner friends that would be interested in this? Here's a promo code. You can buy up to 2 units. And we'd love a review from you. And you can do this because you're emailing them directly and you're in direct communication with them, so we can talk. On Amazon, you don't have access to your audience, and people do all these weird things to try to get their emails. You have their emails right away. You have their emails as soon as they support your product. So you can actually, like what we like to do during the campaign itself, as soon as you already get somebody supporting you, you can actually ask for the help to share the campaign with other people right away.
Sure.
There's nothing weird about being able to connect with your customer. This is very normal in e-commerce outside of Amazon. We're just used to the model where we don't have that flexibility and we have to do all of these kind of interesting things to get around that.
So you can build a referral program into it and maybe make it gamify it. So you can create some sort of contest around it too. Could you?
For sure. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Like, I mean, at this point, creativity is your limit. It's not because you have a limit of not being allowed to communicate with your customers. So if you have ideas for giveaways or like gamification or contests or things like that, we love all those things, but we are way ahead of the game, Norm. But these are all things that we like to do to take advantage of the fact that we now have a community member who likes what we're doing. So,
well, probably my last question before we get into the questions. Whenever I think of crowdfunding, I think of new products. What happens if I have an existing product that I'd like to get crowdfunding for? Is that possible?
An existing product that you've already launched.
Right. It's already launched. It's already out there. It's maybe is doing poorly, or it's just got something very unique and you want to relaunch the product. Is that possible?
It is possible. So that's a good question. It is possible. I think you would have to find a way to make it a little bit interesting for the platform so that it's not exactly, you're not just like launching something that you've launched elsewhere. So you might position this. We're working with people that do this as well. And the idea is that you just want to make it a little bit different. or position it a little bit differently to a different audience. And I think one of the best examples I have for this product, it's not exactly in the exact way that you're asking this question, but this is a really cool example because we worked with someone who was a chef. So she has zero e-commerce experience, never launched a product in her life in this way. And she wanted to launch a hot sauce, like a Chinese hot sauce, like a Szechuan hot sauce that's from a very specific region in China. And she just had no idea how to do this. So we said, okay, well, why don't you explore with launching this on crowdfunding? And so first of all, if you've ever bought Chinese chili sauce or hot sauce, this is when you go to like the grocery store, it's at the bottom of the shelf and it costs like $1 or $2. So like this is not a high-end premium product in any way. But she started building an audience, started building a community, found a very specific subset of an audience that was very down to really interested in supporting her. And she built this and she launched this, and she raised $125,000 on Kickstarter with this hot sauce. And that's not the main event, like as I said. So she was really successful with this, but the real value that she got from this was she had this campaign now that she could use as social proof. So people just can't forever. Kickstarter. If you have a successful line, people can see it forever. And when people search your name or your product name, you're going to find it usually within the top 3 or top 5 search results on Google. So you have like really amazing SEO from this. But that's a side note. So she launched this. She was really successful with the campaign to launch this like Chinese chili sauce that she was selling for like $15, like a bottle, where you normally buy this for like a couple dollars. But what she accumulated from this was a massive like a very, very interested audience that really cared about what she did. So she took this successful Kickstarter launch and she launched on Amazon. She launched her own website. She built a massive social media following on Instagram. So on Instagram, she has about 100,000 followers, which is like really crazy for a hot sauce brand. She launched her own website. Right now, her website traffic, if you check SimilarWeb, which is a way to analyze website traffic, she has 125,000 visitors to her website every single month. So it's like, think about this, it's like a hot sauce. It's not like anything revolutionary. It's been around for thousands of years, at least within the Chinese community. And she's been able to build this massive thing from it. But the crazy is she was able to take the results and say, hey, I'm looking for some investment. And I sold $125,000 pre-orders before I even launched this product. What can you offer me? And so she got strategic investment from people that were in kind of like the food space. And she launched this on Walmart. She launched this on Costco. And she launched this, and one of the most difficult ones to get into is Whole Foods. So right now she's doing crazy well with all these different channels that came from just her thinking about this launch a little bit differently. And she's still doing well on Amazon. I think the last time we checked with her, she was doing, this was 6 months ago, so I'm pretty sure it's a lot more crazy now. She was doing at least $250,000 a month, $250,000 a month on Amazon for a hot sauce. This is mind-blowing. But the crazy thing is this: a lot of this just came from her to be building this community, building an audience, and building like this passionate the fan base for what she really cared about. So she's launched multiple products since then in the same niche. But all of this came from launching this kind of like really kind of not a very unique product on Amazon, and sorry, not on Amazon, on Kickstarter. So I think that's in the same realm of what we were talking about before, which is something that's not crazy unique, but being able to kind of launch this in a way that gets people excited and use that as a way to catapult into your building your brand.
Very good. Oh, I see a comment from Victor. Victor, welcome back. I haven't seen you in a little while. Anyways, you've got a fan there. I'm sure you got a ton of fans there, Vance.
Victor's a part of our, thanks, Victor. Victor's a part of our coaching program, and he's in the midst of launching two products. Actually, it's really cool.
Very good. Okay, so we're getting into the questions now. Kelsey, let's go.
Yes. Okay, so obviously with Amazon sellers, they're kind of known to be secretive of their products, and I think they're getting a little freaked out that if they do crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, everyone's going to know. So we got a couple of questions. I'll just read both of them and then we'll answer. From Claudia, don't you need to worry about people stealing your idea for a product when you are crowdfunding? And from Amelia, same question as Claudia. I'd be scared to share my product idea. I heard that sometimes product ideas are stolen from crowdfunding platforms and are sold on Alibaba before the launch of the product.
Sure, yeah. This is a great question. This is a really, really important question to answer. And I get this question a lot. the way that I think about this is that if you're successful on any platform, you're probably going to get somebody interested in copying your product. So this happens on Amazon, this happens on Walmart, this happens in retail. If somebody sees like this product is doing really well, this is not a unique challenge to Kickstarter. Kickstarter is just going to allow you to get the funding so you can launch this product in a way that's more quickly. If you're going to start moving to Amazon and you become a #1 bestseller, you can bet that there's people that are looking out for that as well. So this is not a unique to Kickstarter problem, but what you can do, there have been people that have copied our product. So we have a design patent, but it's not a big, like, patents are only enforceable. They're only valuable if you are able to enforce it. So one of the biggest companies in the world, Apple, they have these headphones that are this really cool, the white headphones with the cable, and even the normal ones. There's a lot of Chinese knockoffs of that. And this is the biggest company in the world. So literally in the context of protecting your product, there are things that you can do with patents and things like that. But when it comes to actually enforcing it, the best defense for this is to be able to create a brand that people care about. So people with our product category, people have actually sent us Alibaba links of like, hey, people have copied your product. Are you guys concerned about this? Like our fans have sent us links to like Alibaba listings, and those products are not going to sell there because at the end of the day, the people care about our brand and they care about supporting the things that we've done, and we get legitimacy from what we've done and be able to launch this product with this audience. So really, what we're looking to do with this type of process is we want to build an audience, build a community that really care about what we're doing. So, and again, there's a lot of things that we can do to protect our products in terms of things like patents and things like that. But at the end of the day, if Apple can't stop counterfeit products, it's unlikely that we're going to be able to enforce this using things like patents in a way that's really going to be super effective. But what we do want to do, and what we can do in a lot of these situations, is build an audience and build a community that cares about us. So people are not going to be able to knock off our cups, or people are not going to be able to knock off the hot sauce. They need to kind of get through. And they need to get through this community challenge first. How are they going to get people to care about the hot sauce? Anybody can make hot sauce. It's not going to be an issue but it's not going to be an issue for this brand who's done this to have essentially be able to defend what they've created, because people really care about the brand.
Yeah, you've made a great point. And one of the things that I just want to add is you can create a bigger moat to around your product. Some people are not going to spend the money to get molds made. Make sure you own the molds, like maybe have your logo on the mold somewhere. Make sure that your manufacturer is not going to partner with you on the molds. But there's all sorts of different things that you can do to help protect it. At the end of the day, like you said, people are not going to have that audience. They're going to have to fight. They're going to have to, and this comes back to my point earlier. If they're launching this on Amazon and it's a unique product, they're going to have a heck of a battle trying to get that audience to buy their product, because it really doesn't exist, or it's under a unique niche. So those are some things to talk about. But these are these two questions I saw go into the comments. I don't care about competition. I love it. And I've sat down, I've shared back in the day when I had hair, I'd go to trade shows, we'd have friendly competitors. We knew what people were doing. In today's age, hey, if I'm selling a product and somebody else is selling a product and we're driving traffic over to a web page, let's just say it's Yeti. Okay. I can have a stainless steel mug over here, Yeti mug, and I'm on Amazon. Who's going to buy Yeti at a double the price than the other stainless steel or product? It's going to be Yeti because of the brand. You can send traffic over to Amazon all day long with a similar product. And as long as your listing is better or the quality of the brand is better, you will get the sales all day long. So I love it. Come on, give me traffic. I enjoy it, because then my job is stealing that traffic from everybody else and trying to create a bigger market share.
Exactly. Yeah. This is super. Yeah. Very, very, very good point. And at the end of the day, just focus on your own thing. Like in our community, in our mastermind, people share their products. It's not common in the Amazon world because a lot of people are actually just working with very similar products, and like you're just one sourcing round away from somebody else taking your product. But in our communities, everybody's open to sharing what they're doing. They're sharing their niche, they're sharing the products, they're sharing the innovation in the products, and this just helps. They get feedback within our communities, and people are really happy to do that because it helps them grow. And like you said, at the end of the day, it depends on the brand. So if you're able to build something awesome that people care about, then that's your biggest moat that you can build.
Right. Okay. Next.
All right, and a few comments from Victor, I think that are important. Community development for the win. Building a community of fans is hard, but it's nearly impossible for the Chinese sellers to do well.
Exactly.
It's a huge advantage
They
for
can
us.
never do that. The Chinese sellers will never be able to do that. And I mean, just look at how behind they are when it comes to even creating cool assets that don't feel really weird in some type of odd way. They're not going to be able to build a community. So Chinese sellers are not the threat here. It's really like you're competing against yourself. How can you build an awesome community? How can you build an awesome brand and something that you feel excited about, that other people will feel excited about as well?
All right. So if you're enjoying today's episode, make sure you smash those like buttons, give us a thumbs up. There's still time for the giveaway to enter. If you haven't, you will have to write hashtag Wheel of Kelsey and hashtag crowdfunding to enter. It's for a 30-minute strategy session with Vance, and you can tag 2 people to get an extra entry. You will need both those hashtags. So I see a couple people in the comment sections that just have one. You need both to enter. We just want to make sure that you know what the prize is and you're entering today's prize and not just a generic prize. And it just helps get us the person and make sure that the person actually wants the prize and is going to use it. So make sure you have both of these hashtags. Yeah, I'm laying down the law here. We got a couple more questions. We have about 3. We'll do an easy one from Christine first. What was that website to check site traffic that Vance mentioned?
SimilarWeb. It's a website. It's also a Chrome plugin, so you can download that, and it just shows on a website how much traffic they're getting on a regular basis.
Right, I'm going to just copy and paste this link and post it in the comments too for everyone. From Claudia, is crowdfunding effective for a product that is in the $20 to $40 range, or is it only good for more expensive products?
Works for products in that range. It's not about the range, the price point range. It's about how appealing your product is to your target audience.
Okay, great. And actually, I had a question that I threw in here, as I'm a little curious, but I'd like to know if it's difficult to get people to actually fund. Is it luck that crowdfunding sites take off? Because I see when you go through like the best sellers or like the most popular, like you'll see ones that have millions and millions of crowdfunders, and then I'm guessing there's some that just don't take off at all. So like, can you gauge when a product is going to do well on those kind of sites, or is it just kind of luck where algorithm stuff? And
it's a great question. So there's a lot that we can influence, and when it comes to our approach with launching products, it's all about making sure that we're prepared by the time we launch. It's not an accident that on day one we're gonna hit our funding goal within the first 24 to 48 hours. We've built up our audience, we've built up our community, we're getting good feedback from them, and by the time we launch, we're gonna hit our goal. We're not gonna launch unless we know we're gonna hit our goal. Otherwise, we would just wait longer and to make sure that we're ready before we launch. But most projects fail because they don't have enough of that preparation in advance to make sure that people are going to be ready to buy that product when it launches. But of course, you can have luck, and luck will help you scale your product and get more results. And if you get featured on some blogs or some interesting publications or something like that, you might be able to scale that product much faster and get more results. But the foundational, we don't want to rely on luck. So the foundational results of your campaign to hit your funding goal and to have those initial results that get thinking and is not. We want to make sure that we're prepared for that by the time we launch, so that we're not accidentally hitting our funding goal or accidentally not hitting our funding goal.
Okay.
Awesome. Hey, I just saw Tony. So Tony Sagar, you have to put in hashtag or crowdfunding. I just noticed that you just put in and tag 2 people. So just in case you haven't heard. All right. It looks like Christine has a question too.
Yep, we got 2 more questions that came in.
Okay.
From Cool99, I've been learning a lot about building community. I've been reading 12 Months to a Million. It's a great book. I love hearing this podcast today. Thank you, Cool Hand. I appreciate it. Glad it's been helpful. And he said, definitely going back to listen again. Great. And you can do that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And last question is from Christine. How far in advance do you need prior to launch?
Good question. A lot of this is going to be dependent on your situation with your product. So in general, most people have there's three main categories: your product development, so how far along you're in your product; your community development, so how far you've built your community and how large your community is and how engaged they are; and then the last one is what it takes to actually launch the campaign. So things like the creative assets and the asset production. So in general, the product development and the community development takes the longest. And depending on you might spend time doing long community development. So your product development is going to be set depending on your situation. You don't have to wait for your product development to end before you get community development. That's one of the best things we talk about in our approach, is that we want to make sure that we are not doing this in the dark. We're actually going through the process of product development with our audience, so that we're getting feedback in real time, and we're actually involving them in a way that makes them feel like they're invested in our brand as we're going through this process. So it doesn't have to look like product development and then the community development and then assets. You can do product development and also community development at the same time. So that can save you a lot of time. And the same thing with creative assets. You don't need to have finished your community before you start building your audience. Creating your creative assets. So in general, I would say at least at the minimum 2 months for community development. The bigger your goal, the more time you're going to want to spend on this, and the more resources you're going to want to invest in this, depending on your team size, or if you have VAs, or you're doing this yourself. Lots of different considerations, but at least 2 months. And the bigger your goal, the more that you want to invest time into building your community.
Okay, and we have a couple questions just rolling in. One of them I think might be a little too big to answer, and maybe for another podcast we can touch on this, or
maybe we can have round two.
Yeah, but Gavin is asking a best way to build an email list.
This is a really big. You're right. This is a really
big one.
Let's just say there's lots of different ways to do it, and email list is one medium that is going to be a part of your community. So if you build your community, we really like to see it as community rather than like names on a list, because if you're thinking of names on a list, you're only going to talk to them when you need something from them, and that's not the ideal way of seeing building community. So lots of ways to do this, anything from paid traffic to organic ways to direct outreach. But the idea here is that the most valuable thing you might be able to take away from this quick answer is that let's look at emails as a community. So how can you, if you're building an email list, how can you turn this into a community where people feel excited? So email list is one medium. You might have a Facebook group, have your social media accounts, you might have your own podcast. You have a lot of things as a way to engage with your community, but all of these things fall into the category of community, and that's how we really like to see it. A lot of people don't talk about it that way. They really just see email list as like a bunch of names on a list, and then when you launch, you're going to talk to them. But I think it's if you start thinking about this as how can I build a community of people that are excited about my product category or my niche, to be interested in my brand, that's going to give you the biggest results. So maybe we can discuss this in another round two or something.
Sure.
If that's something that's interesting to you, Norm.
Yeah, that's at least another hour for sure.
And I think it's a topic that's becoming more and more popular, that at least I've noticed in the comment sections and just topics on podcasts, like building an email list. So I think that sounds great. Okay, last question, and then we'll head to the Wheel of Kelsey from Christine. Would you push back a launch if you're already in product development and almost done with the product?
Great question.
I guess in terms of crowdsourcing.
Yeah, like I mean, instead of launching on Amazon, I'm imagining you're going to consider pushing it back and consider crowdfunding. We have a lot of people that have done this, and this has only been positive for depending on the product category. But this has generally been positive because then you get all the benefits of what you would get from the benefits of crowdfunding. So reduced risk, increased cash flow, building a community. Building out all the elements of your brand development that's going to be important for you to scale into e-commerce. So I personally, I've done it the other way, where I'm just like, hey, deadlines, I want to launch this in 1 month or whatever it might be. But I think it's now that I've gone through this, I've failed a lot. I would prefer to do it right the first time than to do it quick and then kind of pick up the pieces later on when it wasn't the ideal situation for me to. So I would say, essentially just doing it right over doing it fast is the way that I would go with this.
All right, very good. So before we head over to the Wheel of Kelsey, Vance, how can people get a hold of you?
Sure. So I have my website is livemyplayground.com. You can see it there. So LIVE MY playground.com. And if you're interested in the pre-order crowdfunding model and you want to just learn about it and you're curious about it, we have some free resources that you can just download off of our website. But if you're ready to launch a product and you're curious about how this model might work for you and you want some support in this, we have a launch like essentially a program that we've launched based on we used to do a lot of agency work and consulting work. We don't do that anymore. We've consolidated our processes into this program that we call the Launch Accelerator Blueprint. So if you're interested in that, this is a system that allows you to go from product concept, validating your product concept, all the way to launching your product and getting funding. So if you're interested in something like that and you could use support, we are taking applications for the next round that's coming up. So check out the website, depending on when you listen to this, and there's a place where you can just apply. And what happens there is actually we're gonna look at your application and we're gonna have a conversation with you to say, hey, what is your product category, or what is the product that you had in mind? So we're not here to we're here to sell you a program if this is not going to be a fit. We actually want to make sure that if you're going to want to join our community and join our group and our mastermind, that you're going to be working on something that's going to be successful. So we have a session to determine. Essentially, it's a free session to determine if your product is going to be feasible for crowdfunding. So you can apply for that. It's a free session. Just jump onto our website, livemyplayground.com, and you'll be able to find that there. So
perfect. Okay. So while we go to our sponsor, if there's any hashtag Wheel of Kelsey's, hashtag crowdfunding that have not been entered yet, do it while we're doing our last commercial.
All right, here we go.
The Legion is your go-to community where you can learn, grow, and build your Amazon and e-commerce business. As you know, being an entrepreneur can be lonely. Now you can share struggles, build a network, and celebrate your successes. And guess what? Our community is free. All you have to do is head over to our Facebook group to join. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel at Private Label Legion, so you can stay up to date with tips, strategies, and advice from other experts in the industry. Okay, remember one thing. To get all this great information, follow us, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get automatic notifications. Okay, Vance,
right.
You got to be ready for this.
Here comes the Wheel of Kelsey.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
Okay, here we go.
Right. Okay, so thank you everyone who entered. This is everyone who entered both hashtags, hashtag crowdfunding and hashtag Wheel of Kelsey. So thank you everyone. We're going to be rolling this out every episode now just to make sure that we got everyone. But here we go. The winner, please email me k@lunchwithnorm.com and we'll get you your prize. And looks like S Green from YouTube.
Fantastic.
You are the winner. So please make sure you email me k@lunchwithnorm.com to get your consult or your strategy session with Vance. And I'll connect you with Vance and we'll go from there.
Amazing. Looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Okay. Oh, I just saw a comment from Redbeard. No, it's not closed. So Private Label Legion is our free content area. The paid version, which was called the Centurion League, is closed. But what we're doing is we're just taking that information and now making it free to everybody over at Private Label Legion. So just go over there. It's business as usual. Okay, so Vance, thanks for coming on. This was really very informative. I've got to probably talk to you later on about some stuff that we're doing.
Amazing. I'm excited. Thank you for having me. This is a lot of fun. And I love the sound effects. This is best sound effects ever.
Okay, well, very good. Well, thank you so much. I don't know if you have time to stick around, but if you do, I'll be back on in just a second. Okay, everybody. So thank you so much for tuning in today. This is a very good subject that a lot of Amazon sellers are overlooking. And I've got a couple of ideas that I'd like to share with everybody within the group. Anyways, we got to come back. We got to have Vance back on. But our next, which is Wednesday, our next episode, this is going to be another really good one. I don't know if you know Rachel Johnson, but I met her at Prosper. She is an Amazon Live expert. She actually was, she worked at Amazon, and man, she knows her stuff. Anyways, we're going to be talking about Amazon Live, a topic on everybody's mind. So tune in on Wednesday, and we're going to be talking to her about that. So Kelsey, where are you?
Yes. So make sure you join our Facebook group, Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective. That's where you get all the updates from us. If you have questions for Norm or I, or any of our experts too, you can see from Friday's episode, Mike just made a big post for the Beard Nation there. So check it out. It's where all the good stuff happens. That's Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective. And don't forget to follow us on social media, so Facebook page, Facebook group, YouTube, and of course this is a podcast, so you can find all these episodes on wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's Google, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can rate and review us there. That does a lot to help us out as well. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for all. It looks like we got some really good feedback. It's something Claudia hasn't considered, but looking into it more. DK, thank you, Redbeard. Christine, you were so close today. Maybe next time, but it sounds like Vance is able to do those consultations from their website, so hopefully you can snag a spot there. And I think that's it. Don't forget to give us those likes, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Okay, so join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for being part of the community. We could not do this without you. We look forward to talking to you on Wednesday, and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.
Lunch with Norm.